인간의 심장을 넘어 공허의 유산으로 새롭게 시작되는 2016 스타리그 시즌1. 치열한 예선을 뚫고 당당히 본선에 이름을 올린 스타리그 16인, 최고의 실력자들이 펼치는 2016 스타리그 시즌1. 그 첫 번째 관문 16강 싱글 토너먼트. 두 번의 기회나 넘는 이 전장에서 최고의 전사들이 일생일대의 대결을 펼친다. 한 번의 실수도 용납되지 않은 치열한 전자. 그곳에서 살아남은 자에게 주어지는 또 하나의 과제, 4강 더블 엘리미네이션 토너먼트. 예리한 심리전과 고차원적인 전략 기술로 당대 최고의 플레이어를 가린다. 또한 새롭게 바뀐 맵 선정 방식에 따라 경기 전부터 상대의 수를 읽어내는 치열한 심리전이 예상되는 가운데 2016년 첫 번째 별들의 전쟁, 그 예측 불가능한 움직임. 2016 스타리그 시즌1.
What's up, guys? Welcome to the SSL. I'm Tasteless. With me is Wolf. Wolf, it's very exciting to be down here today. My first day working in the Nexon Arena.
It's absolutely awesome to have you here. We've expanded our broadcast team to include Tasteless with us here, down here at the Star League studio. And it's time for a new season, a new era of Starcraft 2 with Legacy of the Void and a totally new format as well. And it's going to be great. I'm actually so excited. It's hard to believe, like, I've got you here in the booth with me right now. We've got our beards in here.
This is pretty cool, man. Yeah, the beard boys are in here. And I dig our outfits right now. It looks like we should be doing whiskey commercials. No, but seriously, it's really fun to be down here. Legacy of the Void looking absolutely fantastic. It should be possibly one of our shorter days here at the SSL. 2 best of 3s.
Yeah, that's right. So we've got a new format, which we'll talk a little bit more in depth about later, but it is going to be best of 3 single elimination. Not like last season where we had best of 5s that, you know, ended up deciding whether you went to the group stage. So we're kind of cutting that out a little bit, and you've only got 16 players in this tournament.
Yeah, it's pretty brutal at this phase of the tournament. A best of 3, that can go any way, which means even though we have some players who are definitely the favorites here, in this case INnoVation and Sue, certainly in a best of 3 an upset can happen.
Absolutely, because especially we're in such a new stage of Legacy of the Void. It's just after launch. You know, we're in a totally new game, and that often can create some, you know, new all-in strategies. So we're starting things off with the round of 16 with a best of 3 format. Then as we move into the round of 8, it's going to be best of 5s. Now the round of 4 will be played as like a group, like a GSL group, for example. So you're going to have a best of 5 every day. It's going to happen over 5 days, and then the grand final will be a best of 7.
So for a player to get past the round of 16, it really starts to calm down, right? Best of 5, you're a better player, more likely to have the strategies necessary to overcome your opponent. And, you know, you get to the round of 4, obviously a much better position. But this is much more similar to a lot of the older Brood War tournaments that were out there. The earliest phases of a tournament, whether it was like way early in Courage League when you were trying to get your license to be a professional gamer, or the very, very early parts of, you know, even some of the most important Brood War tournaments, they make it pretty tough. So a very unforgiving situation, which can also make for some absolutely exciting games.
Yeah, we only have 3 Terrans in this tournament as well. 2 of them will be playing today, INnoVation and Beyond. The third will be Alive. Player's been playing since the very beginning of the beta of Wings of Liberty, so he's still here, still around. What a really unique bracket in this tournament. Now we've got some events. If you come down to the studio, you get a random pack of these, you know, pins. You could also potentially win a Razor set of just, you know, some gear. And also they're going to have some poker card photo cards. Sorry, I misread that. Photo card events, but that's coming soon.
Definitely come down here. The studio is pretty sick. It's right by Gangnam Station. I know a lot of times when I do GSL, I say it's in the Gangnam area. That in Samsung Station, but this, in fact, right in Gangnam Station. So you come down here, you get your esports experience, you get your StarCraft 2 experience, and you literally walk out the door of the studio. Tons of clubs, tons of restaurants, tons of bars, tons of stuff to do to get that downtown Seoul experience.
That's right. It's an absolutely fun area. You know, an area I lived for several years, in fact, right next to the studio.
It was really weird because, you know, I've been to your apartment before, long before I had ever actually been to this studio. And I had been here in this studio before ever working here. This is my first day down here. Again, very excited, very pleased and happy that SPO recruited me down here. But at the same time, I had no clue when I went to your apartment back when you were living here that your that the studio was in fact just downstairs.
Yeah, that's
Did
right.
you actually move to this?
It's funny. I moved to this area. I moved to this area. Funny story. And the next day, everyone knew the next area was being built. The next day, they put the sign up. The next day after I moved, so I went to sleep, went to the next, and then I was right next to the studio. But we're gonna take a look at this player interview video. So it's gonna list a lot of the information of these players, starting with RagnaroK, and we could actually talk about some of his accomplishments. This guy used to be on TSL. He's one of the original TSL Zergs. INnoVation, one of the best Terrans in the world, one of 3 in this tournament.
Absolutely fantastic player. He's been on top for about 3 years now. Definitely the favorite to get out of here, but RagnaroK, I've casted some events of his overseas where he did very well, especially in Hong Kong. I believe it was about 2 years ago. But we've had over 5 years of Starcraft 2 now, so it starts to get a little bit cloudy in my brain for the amount of games I've casted here. But this should be a very fun match. RagnaroK, I think he does have some versatility in his playstyle. INnoVation, the Terran that any Terran player really aspires to be like.
Sure. Now here are our maps. Now, if you take a look at the map system here, it looks like there's a veto system along with some randomness. Like the maps get picked out of a hat. That's how Starlink always has been. But the 3 maps that we're going to be seeing these players play on are Dust Towers, Orbital Shipyards, and then Ruins of Saris. So 2 2-player maps, and then the larger map to finish it off if we go to Game 3.
So let's see what these guys have in store for us here. A lot of Terrans have been doing some Reaper plays, but before we even go to any more of that, excuse me, we're going to go to a quick highlight video, interview video with these 2 players.
안녕하세요. 저는 CJ인투스의 저그 신희범입니다. 예선전에서는 이동현 선수, 조진혁 선수, 이승현 선수를 이겼어요. 충분히 이길 수 있는 선수라 생각해서 자신감을 가지고 했더니 다 이겨서 올라간 것 같아요.
SK텔레콤의 테란 이신우입니다. 저번 시즌에는 개인 리그 우승 한 번 하고 팀도 우승하고 커리어에서는 제일 괜찮은 것 같아요.
제가 생각한 테란 중에 가장 커리어가 높은 선수로 알고 있고 실력도 지금도 엄청 좋은 걸로 알고 있어요.
들은 건 없고 그냥 프로리그 거의 저번 시즌 끝날 때쯤에 자주 나오셔가지고 그래도 팀에서 실력이 있다고 생각하고 있습니다.
또 운영을 가서도 제가 전혀 밀리지 않는다고 생각하기 때문에 이길 수 있는 자신감이 있는 것 같아요.
걱정은 별로 안 되고요. 편하게 생각하고 있습니다.
전략을 안 짜고 그냥 기본 기록만 오신다면 저에게 2대0으로 질 것 같아요.
그냥 연습 좀만 했으면 좋겠어요. 많이 오면 어려울 것 같아요.
인라인 신장에서는 제가 성적을 많이 못 내서 실망을 많이 하셨는데 이번 공호에서는 열심히 해서 좋은 성적을 보여드릴 수 있도록 하겠습니다.
16강에서 저그 만났는데 저그전은 좀 그래도 자신 있어 하는 편이어가지고 멋있는 모습 보여드리겠습니다.
Very interesting highlight video with the interviews there, Wolf.
Yeah,
you are actually, I would say, quite fluent in Korean.
Yeah, I understood about 90%
And
of it.
so that that wasn't simply Koreans talking with a stick circle fight at the bottom of the screen. Would you like to tell our viewers a little bit
Sure.
about what they discussed there?
Yeah, RagnaroK basically said he didn't have a very good time in Heart of the Swarm. He knows he's the underdog here, but he's been hoping to actually, turn over a new leaf essentially, whereas INnoVation is completely confident. He said he was like his team's strength. He was the #1 player for his team in Pro League. He came out in every tournament. He was all over the world. He was like #1 basically in his mind. He's like a top player. He has no fears. He was thinking about this. He's totally confident going into this, and he's obviously understands that he is the favorite player by far in the series. I think RagnaroK understands the same. I think that interview basically highlighted what we already said, that one player is highly favored going into this best of 3.
Yeah, today, as we said before, it could be pretty one-sided, but also in a best of 3, definitely RagnaroK could pull out some tricks and maybe throw INnoVation off, especially with Legacy of the Void still new, the meta still, it's wet clay right now. We're still seeing it get shaped and molded quite a bit.
Absolutely. So it's a new time, to be a StarCraft fan, as if you've been following since the beginning, or if you're a new StarCraft fan, everything you see here is going to be totally different.
Now's the time if you're one of those guys who's like, I only watch, I don't play. You can actually start playing now.
Yeah.
Okay, the game is way different. If you look at the jump from Wings and Heart of the Swarm, the jump from Legacy of the Void is so much bigger.
Yeah.
This is practically StarCraft 3. So if you want to pick this up and start getting the hang of it, a lot of the people that have been playing Wings of Liberty and Heart of the Swarm are having a tough time with the switchover. I know
That's
there's
right.
yeah. Go ahead,
that
please.
goes for all levels, from your
Sure.
your Silver League to your low Grandmaster. So
It's a bigger, newer skill set.
yeah, and it's also the games are much faster.
Yeah,
So if you don't
more
have as much
expanding.
time, you're constantly expanding if you're a high skill level player, you should rise to the top quickly. But also, if you're one of those players that gets frustrated losing to an all-in, you don't have to go through the early game shenanigans starting with 6 probes anymore. We're starting with 12 now, so you've got so many more workers. You just jump right into the game. And you don't have to actually there's not as much downtime in the early game, which is fun for casters as well, as we get right into the action.
It's not fun for me. I can't talk about video games from the 90s with Artosis anymore. That part of my brand is dead. So we're going to be going all into all StarCraft action right away. And I believe we are moments away from starting our game. By the way, guys, tell your friends to tune in and join us here at SPO.TV. It's going to be a beautiful year, 2016. And by the way, Happy New Year. I just got back into town. I was out of town for about, how long was I? I was out of town for like 2 weeks.
2.5 weeks, something like that.
2
Yeah, you were
weeks.
gone.
And so I'm going to be learning a little bit here, too. I barely had access to the internet, man.
Well, taking a look at these two players, RagnaroK has such a history. He's been playing StarCraft 2 for much longer than INnoVation was, who was known as Bogus, was playing on STX in Brood War when RagnaroK was playing StarCraft 2 in the beta. INnoVation was still playing Brood War, was still in a Kespa team house, training StarCraft 1. We're in a totally new world now. We're in the final expansion of StarCraft 2, and these two are going at it. It's one best of 3. You win it, you make it, you lose, you're out. And you better hope you're in GSL or you got to requalify next season. It's a long time before that.
Yeah, it's gotten more intense. We've upped the ante a little bit here. The tournaments in Korea have gotten more competitive. There's a little bit less games and a more condensed period of time, of course, all leading up to BlizzCon. And by the way, our game is now loading up. It is a best of 3. RagnaroK against INnoVation. And I'm still getting the timing out for these outros because I'm the new kid on the block, new nerd on the block. All right, let's do this. All right, we're on here in our first best of 3, game number 1. Down here in the bottom left, our Zerg player in the red, he is RagnaroK.
There he is, a longtime SC2 player.
Drink it in, boys and girls. I know our viewership is mostly guys, but there's some nerdettes out there.
That's right. Now, the best Terran in the world, also self-proclaimed, the top player for SKT. It is INnoVation, one of 3 Terrans in this tournament. And we're starting things off on Dusk Towers, the 2-player map.
Quick drone scout here.
Yeah, wants to make sure there's no early proxy Reapers, but in fact, he's up against a CC first.
I think this is pretty smart by INnoVation, and although also a good opener here by RagnaroK. We've seen in what is, you can almost barely call it the meta because the game's still so new, right? And we haven't had a ton of televised Korean games, which really is what molds the meta into, what then the ladder sort of becomes.
Sure.
So we did see a lot of very successful double proxy Raxes, some that parlayed into expanding, some that actually just ramped it up into and more intensified all-in with Hellions. So it looks like RagnaroK just eliminating that possibility by scouting early. But INnoVation over here, I love the fact that he goes CC first. He's already playing around this very, very early meta that we have here and preempting that Zerg, wasting a drone, in fact, to scout, instead going for the econ play.
You're absolutely correct. Now, with this SCB scout, he's going to see that RagnaroK has gone quick gas, which is, again, another one of those safe choices against the popularity of Reaper openings right now. You have a quick gas like this, you can tech faster, you get your link speed out a lot faster, which is totally, absolutely necessary, with the meta that we have here in Korea. And like you said, the rest of the world follows the Korean meta. The games are played here at the highest level, and everyone in Europe, everyone who's in Gold League is watching this going, oh, I think that's how the game is played.
Or at least the ideal way that the game is played.
Sure.
Yeah, and it's also notable here that RagnaroK, not just when he scouted with that drone, he also expanded to the back there. He could have expanded to the front, which would have made that back expansion. If you can see on the bottom left side of the map, that expansion is the safest base you can possibly take early. Some Zergs are a little bit more greedy. They'll take that base out in the front, and then that way, whenever they feel like they can in a very sneaky fashion, just take that back base. But playing on the side of caution is RagnaroK, where INnoVation took that risk, it paid off. He's going for that econ play.
Now with the early gas that RagnaroK take, he will be able to get a fast lair here.
Yeah.
So even though it wasn't fast aggression that he faced, he still has the opportunity to now tech into this lair. Perhaps grab quick Mutalisk to harass with to make up for the fact that he's somewhat significantly economically behind where he would like to be because he played so safe. And that's the beauty of Starcraft 2 is you can take an early gas to be safe, but you can turn that into aggression very quickly as soon as you scout what is going on.
And we have Hellions coming out right now, as well as one Liberator being cranked out. Now the Hellions are going to come up here, and they're spotters. They're also there to push away drones, bully away anything else on the map. We're going to come up here to the ramp and hold up. We got
Nidus Network is on
Tom
the
Cheesery going on here, Wolfie.
That's right, Taste. Now with the early lair, it looks like that's going to be the plan here. It might be combined with Roach Speed and perhaps even some Ravagers.
You know what, man? I think this is a great strat here for RagnaroK. Even has the Queens backed up there, maybe to make the Hellions possibly overextend so he can actually, saw them out. But this might be the ideal play. Now, one thing that INnoVation, and I would expect someone like INnoVation to be hyper vigilant about this, is he going to spot, oh, I guess he beat me to it. I was going to say, is he going to spot an Overlord? Because, well, no, excuse me, whenever I'm talking about this Legacy of the Void, this is a completely different game here. He's going to come in here and try to see what Terran's doing. He flies in.
Now the Nidus is
there.
active.
It is. The Nidus is there.
Now this is different in Legacy.
This is different in Legacy.
He can't kill it while it's warfing,
exactly.
but he has to bring the SCVs over. As soon as it's finished, he can actually
he needs to go surround here. Yeah, that's exactly what I was getting at. I was going to say, but he does at least see it here. The Queen's beautiful play. Roach is now popping out. Liberator getting low, and it's almost gunned down. But this may actually no. In fact, the Queens are taking out just enough time. The perfect number of SCVs underneath that. Roach is rotating around here as well.
Now he needs to reposition that zone on the Liberator. He is going to target down the Nidus first.
Yep.
That's his priority, so no more reinforcements can hit. But the second Nidus has already been started. You can't kill those as they're morphing in Legacy of the Void.
He's trying to go for that tech lab, getting pulled away here by the Hellions. Stim about halfway done. Until that Nidus is out, there's not much more these Roaches can do. The Roaches pop out. More Queens coming in here. Liberator very low and no SCVs within range right now to heal that Liberator. This could be a serious problem for INnoVation.
That's absolutely right, Tasis. Liberator does survive. All Queens are down. Stim is about to finish, but it may actually be canceled here, and it is in fact canceled, it looks like, and this is a big problem. There's very few bio units anyways here, but there's very few SCVs mining on the map right now. He needs to just hold on and stave this rush off using mules essentially to save himself. Now 2 more Liberators will come out.
I think he's setting any remaining Queens in over here. And as long as he can just take out a few more SCVs, let's see here. Well, no, it's 24 SCVs total still. 23 now still remaining. He's going to start up yet another Nidus Worm. This one in a little bit more of a difficult location.
Yep. Now it's important to note that Nidus networks are not free, so every time he does this, it's going to cost him a lot of money. He needs to make sure it's a return. He gets a return on his investment. Targeting it down. Queens need to come out here and transfuse. First Queen is out. He gets targeted down though. No transfuse.
Yeah, instantly destroyed is that Queen. Now he can, if he wants to, start to split up these Roaches. That's definitely an option here. Liberators are not exactly the most mobile unit, so by splitting this up, he might even want to start another Nidus network somewhere else. Another Nidus Worm popping out elsewhere.
Now I like that he's going to go ahead and attack the backdoor expansion. He's essentially stopping mining in both bases. We will finally be pushed away by this Liberator, but another Liberator is coming up. Now this rush may have been stopped here, but RagnaroK has a clear economic lead. The question is how is he going to transition? Because this game isn't over by any means.
Well, it's 35 drones right now to 19 SCVs, and I love the fact that RagnaroK is just playing the keep away game. However, I think there might be enough Liberators that this is going to start becoming a much less equitable strategy. He may start feeding into his opponent by sacrificing too many units, and it does look like RagnaroK is now at least starting to transition tech-wise out of this. We see him now taking, well, just hold that thought, I'm sorry.
Queen's going to die instantly here,
yeah,
though,
I'm starting to wonder if he might be overextending here. I did see him make another extractor, but in fact, he's still just making Roaches for the time being, staying on those 30 35 drones.
He's really adeptly using these roaches right now because he's basically microing around the Liberator zones. The problem is he's just doing too much cost-efficient damage here. I would have liked to maybe see him transition to Spire or something after this damage, but he really just wants to go for the kill, and he's losing steam. The one Roach over here has 16 kills, by the way, never dealt with,
and
Roach
qualifies as a serial killer now. Now going to make it 17 over here as it takes out that final SCV. And RagnaroK's not giving up. I think some players might have transitioned into another tech here, but clearly RagnaroK is not interested in a long game. Now, is he going to send out any more queens here? Because these queens are dying so quickly, I'm starting to question the decision-making behind that.
I think he's starting to choke a little bit here.
It seems like a bit of an overextension, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It starts to seem like he's got tunnel vision a little bit here.
When I look at a strat like this, I think one of the things that makes it strong specifically against what INnoVation is doing is that there's only one Liberator when the 3 queens pop out. And if the Terran doesn't have, SCV is perfectly set underneath that, then there's not a whole lot the Terran can do. Now, in this case, INnoVation being the player that we know he is, handled this quite nicely. So now we see RagnaroK has switched into teching up, droning up, trying to get ahead. He bruised INnoVation a lot early on here, so he does have an advantage. The question is, can he close it out? A player like INnoVation can certainly play from a deficit. He wouldn't be one of the best players of all time if he couldn't.
Now, let's talk about where we are now. Spire has finally been made. It's 9 minutes into the game, but it looks like INnoVation is going to now go on the attack with his Liberators, and it means he needs to get more queens out here. He doesn't have any Spore Crawlers in position, and this is terrifying for RagnaroK. And what's also important to note is there can be no more Nidus networks anymore unless this Overseer gets one up. He's going to maybe try for it because this is his only way to get vision in here to continue the attack.
It's also possible he just wants to scout up here and see anything else that could be remaining. And now it's Terran's turn to start doing the harass, actually just out of range. That mineral was depleted. The moment he set up an outpost there where he could start doing additional damage.
And there's Ravagers
out now. Ravagers coming out now, and it looks like INnoVation's paying attention.
INnoVation has made a few small mistakes with his control today, whether it was not dealing with the one Roach that killed 16 of his SCVs, or just simply with some of his Liberator control and his zoning. But, I feel like RagnaroK can transition out. This Aspire is nearly complete. He can start making some Mutalisks, and a few Liberators can deal with a small Mutalisk count, but with Ravagers on the way as well, he's definitely going to have to be more careful with them. It's 3 base versus 2. Another CC is coming up for INnoVation, which means he can drop more mules, but he's got a lot of recovery to do. He also lost Stim, which means he can't pressure with his bio units right now.
Oh, that's a great point. I had almost forgotten about that, Wolf. Yeah, he did take out that tech lab during that attack, and Terran without Stim, especially frankly, if they're relying on any form of bio, even if that's only a chunk of their army, they are unable to push realistically unless the Zerg simply doesn't know what they're doing.
You're absolutely
right. And that's not even at the highest level of Starcraft. That's just a general rule of thumb. Zerg now teching into mass mutas, which means Terran, a lot of times in moments like this, Terran might be able to push out and just have barely enough defense that Zerg may question actually trying to counterattack into the main. In this case, Terran can't really push. I think the most Terran can hope for in a moment like this would probably be to simply set up a 3rd base.
Yeah, he's gonna have to pray he can do that. Before that happens, these Mutalisks are going to attack. Now, he expected another Roach follow-up attack, so he made a lot of siege tanks. No turrets. A lot of these SCVs are bruised from earlier. 2 Liberators is not going to cut it here. They're just going to be simply avoided, and there's no turrets at the natural either. This might actually be the killing blow here for INnoVation in game number 1.
Well, it's going to be really tough here for INnoVation to come back from this because he's basically stapled into his base. Meanwhile, Zerg is massing up. We see 22 Lings on the way here. He's in very, very good shape. The rest of the tech tree coming along absolutely beautifully. And you notice RagnaroK's Mutalisks are essentially orbiting around INnoVation's base, just on the edges, shaving off SCVs, 68 drones to 29 SCVs. That's the real story here.
That's absolutely correct.
I believe what Zerg should do from here, but there are other ways to play this, but Zerg may just wait for either the push or the 3rd base to be taken and then come in here and slam him.
Well, he's going to go ahead and slam the rest of these SCVs in the mineral line, and as you can see, a few more Mutalisks will get shaved off, but the Liberators are gone. It looks like INnoVation's going to go for one all-in final push here. He's got several siege tanks in the mix as well as Liberators.
Taking out the tech lab, that is huge.
And combat shields will not finish in time, and there are plenty of Ravagers here as well.
And And this, I mean, let's see what INnoVation can do. His control's very good. However, this may simply be a numbers game. Coming up now, planting the siege tanks in a very good position, and he can leapfrog them forward very easily with the medevac. But meanwhile, so many links of units are coming down here now. The tanks are destroyed in a matter of seconds.
That's going to be game, Tasus.
Yeah, that'll be it.
That's it.
Look at this unnecessary Liberator micro.
He's done. That's it. The rest of their units stream across unnecessarily here, and that is going to be the last moments of this game. INnoVation can't believe it. The chained Nidus all in will take him out.
Yeah, it seemed like he maybe overdid the Nidus attack, but it almost didn't matter. A few remaining Marines are up here. I think with the... Nope, never mind. I think that this should be it. I was going to say, I didn't realize he had lost quite as many Mutalisks back there, but no, the sheer number of Zerg ground units here, it just does not matter what the Terran tries to do.
GG. That's it. RagnaroK takes game number 1.
What is happening?
And, you know, one of our 3 Terrans is now on his last life here in this tournament. One more win for RagnaroK will knock him out.
You know, we were talking about this earlier, but a best of 3, that's pretty tough. There's a much greater likelihood of an upset in a best of 3.
Yeah, it's absolutely true. And
we may see it here. And you know what I love about it is that RagnaroK is utilizing that.
Yeah, and INnoVation basically just played insanely greedy in that game. RagnaroK played safe.
It was greedy.
Yeah, he played safe, but I feel like he had this plan as one of many plans after what he scouted as what he was going to do. He's like, okay, you played insanely greedy versus my safe opening. I'm going to take that gas, put it into a lair, put it into the Nidus network. Now, the Nidus network, because it cannot be targeted as it's morphing, vision isn't as important. You don't have to, you know, if you start it, you can't just target down with your SCVs and go, okay, that's it. You have to really deal with it. And the Queens came out, saved it, and it's a chain. You just constantly have more and more Nidus networks coming into the base.
You know, one thing about when you do that rush with the Nidus is that the problem is Terran has to pull SCVs, and therefore Terran's not mining. Terran is already economically punished even before the attack from the Zerg is actually started. It's just him basically setting it up. But I got to hand it to INnoVation back there. Even though he lost that game, really good job holding that for the time being.
Sure.
When that started, he had the exact number of SCVs right under that Liberator. If you notice with that strategy, one of the goals is just enough Queens pop out, not just to save the Nidus network, but also you can gun down that Liberator in that situation, and there's not a lot that
you force the repair.
Terran can do. You force the repair, but INnoVation actually had the exact number of SCVs. It was 3 Queens, and you saw the Liberator. Excuse me, I'm not used to these hand mics here.